You spoke about how that song came to be. I'm not a creative. I don't write music. I don't produce. You're in the middle of grieving. It's 3 days
Yeah.
after you lay your father to rest eternally. Do these records just? I mean, excuse me. Do the lyrics just come to you on the spot? Were you the night before writing this down?
No,
Like,
man.
what is the process?
You know what? I tell people this all the time. I tell people, my hit songs always come after I take a hit. So it's like, I don't want to write no more hit songs because every time I write a hit, I got to take one. My father died. I wrote Never Would Have Made It. My pastor and spiritual mentor died. I wrote The Best in Me. My wife died. I wrote a song called My Testimony. Every time I write a hit, I got to take a hit first. And I'm like, I'm good. I got enough hit songs in my life that I don't have to write another hit song. If I could just write just something that, encourages people, that'd be enough for me. But no, man, they just happen. Like Never Would Have Made It was a moment. It literally I just stood up there. I just started singing the words. Best of Me, it was a moment. I stood up there and started singing the words. My Testimony, it was a moment. I think I wrote My Testimony in less than 5 minutes, the whole song.
Wow.
And it just happened. And, I'm grateful. I think what God was doing is that he was using me as a conduit to get a message out that people needed to hear to encourage them. And I'm grateful that, he trusts me like that because that's a major thing. And, my music, like I said before, my music is churchy but funky. That's and I think that's what keeps it relevant because, I like the formula and the formula that I use works for me.
It's so nice that you understand, and maybe this is because you have been on the pulpit and you have been preaching the word for so many years. You understand, you're nothing more than the vessel. You're the conduit.
That's it.
God just and I think that's why your music has resonated with as many people as it has over the years, because most, if not all, hit records, they come from a very honest place. They come from a very vulnerable place. And like you said, in order for you to, with all the hits, you had to first take a hit. And this is just you singing and putting into song form what you were going through at the time, not realizing that there's millions of people who are going through the same exact thing.
Never imagined it. Never imagined it. And again, like when we first started talking, you asked me, did I ever think, in my wildest imagination that the things that I've been able to do, that the accomplishments that I've accomplished in this career, that God has given me, what I never thought, ever thought that, I would be, looked at as a iconic figure or, the award shows that I watched for so many years, that I'd be on stage receiving them. And that was never my thought. My thought was I just wanted to be able to put out good music that encourages people. And, the Bible says, the laborer is worthy of their hire and they're worthy of their reward. So, God just decided to say, okay, Marvin, because you've been faithful over a few things, I'm going to make you rule over many. So I appreciate it. I really do, man. And this isn't like this ain't like pseudo humility. It's not. It's just like, I'm just daily in awe. I'm like, dang, you're like, for real, you still doing stuff, God? Like, for real though, you ain't through yet. You just gonna keep blowing a brother up and blowing his mind all at the same time. Okay, I'll roll with you because, I'm winning it doing your way. I'm winning doing your way.
You spoke about the award shows. 2009, I mean, you riding on a high. 2007, 2008, 2009, big year for you. You win Best Gospel Artist of the Year at the BET Awards. You perform. I mean, no surprise there. Um, you won all 7 Stella Awards that you were nominated for. Your life, I'm sure you have at this point. I've over accomplished what I thought that I was going to do in this lifetime. I'm that guy. But at the same time, your wife falls ill.
Yeah.
At your highest moment, and you spoke so eloquently and so lovingly about your wife in this interview. How do you first and foremost, your wife was diagnosed with colon cancer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did you guys get the news? And how do you handle this when you are at the pinnacle of your career?
Well, I mean, like I tell people that I never really got the opportunity to enjoy that season of my life, simply because during that season of my life, I buried my dad. And then after burying my dad, 2 years later, my wife is diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. So it's like, I never really got an opportunity to really enjoy all of the celebration piece, because I was so busy taking care of and trying to navigate through the whole, I just want her to stay alive. I just buried my dad. Now she's sick. It wasn't a time to really be able to celebrate, career stuff. It's like, okay, here's the award sticking on the shelf. Now let's go do chemo. You know what I mean? Like it was like that. I mean, it's like, here's another nomination. Okay, fine. Here's a big royalty check. Okay, deposit it. Let's do the private jet and go to Houston so we can go to MD Anderson. So it was more, I'm trying to figure out how I can say it properly, because I don't want anybody to miss the point that I'm trying to make. The point that I'm really trying to make is that it's extremely hard to really enjoy your success and what you have accomplished when what you desire more than what you've accomplished is dying. It was like, I would give every one of these awards and crap back, if she can still be here. It was at that point, it was like that. And then, I had young children. My kids were like, when their mother got diagnosed, they were 9, 11, and 14. And then when she passed, they were 11, 13, and 16. So, I mean, wow. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to navigate through that as a father. And, I got 2 young girls who need their mother. I mean, it was just, who's thinking about music? Who's thinking about records and accolades and career goals and all that kind of stuff? The focus at that point was really just trying to, ensure that, number one, I didn't lose my mind. Number 2, that my children were able to be healthy emotionally and mentally and spiritually. And, that season was a blur as it pertains to music. It's just, I think I was more or less on autopilot, but, thankfully, God allowed, the level of success that we did achieve, to help fund our lives, because I stayed home an awful lot during those moments. I was home with her. And then after she passed away as well, I had to be dad, man. I mean, shoot, my kids needed somebody driving them to school, and they needed somebody picking them up and, helping them with homework. And, I didn't do too much to help with the homework. I hired tutors. That was the goal. They had tutors. But just trying to make sure, bringing their grandmother home with them so they can, feel the love and the warmth of family. This music stuff didn't matter no more at that point. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Just like, I'm good. Let me make sure my kids are good, because I know what we tend to do is we tend to thrust ourselves into our careers in order to feel some level of solace and satisfaction. No, that wasn't my goal. At that point, I was trying to stabilize my church. I was trying to make sure my kids was great. And, music is as music was. That's where I was at that point. But, God kept us. And I'm proud of my kids. And my son is actually living here in North Dallas. He's building a new home. He works for an amazing company, Amazon Web Services. My middle child, she's in her master's program. And my baby girl, she graduates with a dual bachelor's in 2 weeks. So
beautiful. I mean, congratulations.
Yeah, man, the kids could have did what I did. You know what I'm saying? Like, my son, my daughters, they could have went out there and started, just wilding out, but they didn't do that. I mean, they adults, they do adult stuff, but they didn't wild out or nothing like that, because I know I probably would have if I'd have lost my mom, but they didn't.
No, we see it far too often when, people, it's one thing to lose your father.
Right.
But it's a whole
nother story, Doc.
To lose mama. It's a completely different story. I lost my mother just over a year ago. And I feel at this age and at this point in my life, and her having the opportunity to be with me for so many years, I feel like a child. Like,
oh yeah,
mommy's gone.
That's it.
So how does children that young, because we see it too often, they typically have issues. They grow up and start rebelling. It is a testament to you in the Lord that your children all turned out okay.
Especially preacher kids.
That's right.
Especially
that is right.
Preacher kids. Because they lose they freaking minds out here, boy. But I think the reason why my kids are so well balanced, and my young adults, now I can't call them my kids, but my young adults are so well balanced is, number one, I put them in counseling immediately. Their mother was a licensed psychologist, so it was just easy for me to ensure that they got put into therapy. But I think another thing too is that I've always been that type of pastor where, I never neglected my kids for the church. I would neglect the church for my kids, because honestly, my first ministry is to my children. It's not like, my first, ain't nowhere in the world I'm gonna run around here, sing Never Would Have Made It all over the world and all these different songs, and then come back and my kids is buck wild. That's not gonna be my testimony. So I made sure that, like, I would miss Bible study because my daughter was cheerleading. And I'll tell my assistant pastor, you got to teach Bible study tonight because there's a football game. Now, the football team sucked, but my daughter was cheerleading. So I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to be, she played, one of them played basketball. I was at games. These are things that I felt like it was necessary to do simply because I was their only parent. I was the only one that was left. I can remember this. Now, this is funny. I can remember, man, my daughter's calling me, telling me they want to go to On the Run tour. Now, this is just funny. So I'm in revival, right, at this particular church. The city shall remain nameless to protect the innocent. The concert, the On the Run tour with Jay-Z and Beyonce, they were in Chicago. So I told the pastor, I'm not a liar. I say, man, look, I got to go home because I'm taking my daughters to a concert. So I'm going to need to end this early. And he was like, are you serious? I was like, yes, sir, I'm very serious. He said, what concert are you taking your girls to? I said, I'm taking them to see Jay-Z and Beyonce. And it was like, you mean to tell me you're canceling us a day early so you can take your daughters to see Jay-Z and Beyonce? I said, yes. And I'm not sick. I'm not saying I'm going home because they're sick. I made a commitment. So I got to, so I pray that you understand. He was very, very heated, upset.
Needless to say.
Needless, they didn't pay me, and I still flew home, and I had to go to another city after that. So I got a car service to drive us to Chicago, which is about 2.5 hours. The car waited for us because I had to come back and go straight to the airport to go to the next city. And I took my girls to the On the Run tour. We like 3 rows or maybe 5 rows from the stage. And they loved it. They was like, Daddy, this is amazing. And, you know, got them back home, got them in bed, went straight to the airport. My point is that these are moments that they reflect on and remember the most. That their dad made a sacrifice, that their dad made a decision to walk away from something. They needed to know that there is nothing that I do that's more important than them. Not a song I sang, not a church I have to preach at, not an opportunity that I have. And I mean, you know, they bring it up a lot. Dad, you remember when you took us to the concert? I said, I remember. I absolutely. And what was funny was they said, do you always gotta look like a preacher? Now, mind you, I had on my hat like this. I had on like a sports coat and some jeans and stuff. I'm like, man, I ain't looking like no preacher. And they's like, yeah, you do. Everywhere you go, you gotta look like a preacher. And I was like, no, I ain't looking. But I took a bunch of pictures. Now that's something that like, it's like, Daddy, you taking all these pictures with all these people. And I'm like, hey, this is what I gotta do. This is part of the job. So it was what it was. But yep, your family's your first ministry. And that's what I wanted my kids to remember.
Oh, I love that. Your family's your first ministry. Okay. And while y'all was at the concert, did you take them backstage?
I didn't take them backstage. I didn't take them backstage because as soon as the concert was over, we had to get back home. Because again, I had to catch a flight. I think I had a 6 a.m. flight, and we lose an hour going back to Michigan from Illinois. So I threw them in the car. They went to sleep. I got back home, threw them in the house, and then went straight to the airport and caught a plane out. So yeah, man. But no, you know, next time I'll get up with Jay-Z them. He killed when I was in Vegas one year, man. His show was amazing in Vegas. I mean, he's just crazy, but that's neither here nor there. Oh, see, because the Bishop listened to Jay-Z? Yes.